Hi everybody, it's Sid from Cool Movie Gram, your source for everything about cool film. Now, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, check out my other videos, like my content, comment, and those of you who already done that, thank you very much and welcome back to the channel. And you know, it's a really big help because the fact is we're so close to hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark. We're getting even closer by it every day, and your support means so much to me. Thank you very much. And today, yeah, of course, this is the fourth video in my top 25 Jackie Chan movies, and we are going to be covering films number 10 to 6. So of course, after this is only one more video and then we can move on to different things, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm so excited being able to actually work on these videos. I just enjoy it. The fact that I'm getting such good positive feedback from all you guys, it means the world to me. Now anyways, enough praise for all you awesome people. Let's just crack on with this. Number 10 is Miracles, aka Mr. Canton and Lady Rose, or even known as the Canton Godfather or Black Dragon in some markets, which is a 1989 film directed by Jackie Chan. It stars Jackie Chan, Anita Mui, Wu Ma, Lo Li, and Richard Ng. Now, this is a kind of like a loose remake of A Pocket Full of Miracles and Lady for a Day, in which a young man from Canton arrives in 1930s Shanghai and accidentally is made the boss of a struggling gang. Whilst battling in a turf war with another gang and managing a club, he decides to help an older flower seller to pretend to be a lady of status to help with her daughter's marriage. But can they pull it off? This was made at the height of Jackie Chan's career, pretty much when he had just been so consistent. He'd become the biggest star in Asia. He'd kind of like smashed all records in Hong Kong. He'd been so successful, you know, following like just a plethora of, you know, hit after hit after hit. He was pretty much Golden Harvest's golden boy. So they let him make this kind of like a passion project, because this was Jackie Chan was kind of like getting a lot of critics saying, oh, he doesn't know much about cinematography. He doesn't really, he can fight, he can make action, but he doesn't know much about storytelling. He doesn't know much about cinematography and, you know, filmmaking techniques itself and editing. But which of course Jackie kind of took that to heart. I thought, wait a minute, I do know about this. But then this itself kind of was Jackie Chan on a much bigger scale, because of his amazing track record with Golden Harvest, they'd actually decided to give him an unlimited budget, such a huge budget, bigger than any other film, which is about 64 million Hong Kong dollars. I mean, no other film at that time was actually that expensive in Hong Kong, where they had spent so much money on it. And I mean, and it shows. I mean, the sets in this film were just lavish. I mean, bringing up like this really kind of 1930s Shanghai vibe to it. And, you know, even in terms of like the techniques used in filming, like long sweeping, kind of like Brian De Palma influenced, kind of like steady cam shots, and just kind of like the crane shots, just capturing this amazing set of like 1930s Shanghai. And, you know, you got all these great costumes and all sorts, and even the story and the performances were done so well. I mean, this kind of like showed a much more mature type of comedy for Jackie Chan. I mean, in terms of like when it comes to the comedy, I think people like I really enjoyed Wu Ma's character has this kind of like this elder of the gang that he's actually the boss of, and he's kind of like the right hand man who's trying to steer him towards a more right direction and like things to do and things not to do as a gang leader. And even Anita Mui's kind of sassy, charismatic singer at the club, who kind of like eventually kind of ends up developing feelings for Jackie Chan's character, is actually quite effective. I mean, and then again, the late Anita Mui just was one of those like performers who easily kind of like commanded the screen with her presence. She just had that amazing, any film that she did, she's always had that kind of like great charisma. She's had great comic timing. She's just has depth to her characters, and it's just so kind of like vibrant to see her. And even Bill Tung was really good as like a con man who kind of appears earlier on in the film, and then later on it becomes a more kind of important character. And then Richard Ng as a rather dim-witted kind of police chief is hilarious. He has this kind of like very kind of almost like a Leslie Nielsen kind of like vibe, about a very Frank Drebin type of character in this movie. And his scenes were actually quite funny as well. And the fact is that even his own subordinates within the police force, they kind of realize that this guy's not really up there, is he? How is he a chief? But then, you know, he had all this going on, and I mean, again, Jackie Chan, he has this very likable persona in this film. He does it to a T. And in terms of the fight scenes, well, they were absolutely like, wow. You know, there's a few of them here peppered out here and there. There's a really good chase sequence as well, which is kind of on foot, which just does have a very kind of similar resemblance to his Project A movies in terms of like the era that it was set, and also and like just the use of the kind of like the environment. And you even had Yuen Bu kind of appear in a cameo, and even singer Jackie Chung had also had like a little cameo too. You know, you got guest appearances from like Tin Fung and so many more. And in the fight scenes, again, I mean, one of my favorite fight scenes in this film was probably the Rope Factory, where he's fighting like Billy Chow, who's like the former kickboxer who played the villain in many films, and he's appeared in many times. He's appeared in Dragons Forever. He's appeared in other films with like with the Three Dragons, as well as like, you know, for example, Sammo Hung and Yuen Bu, and so many more. He's like an absolute. He's a former Muay Thai champion, very amazing with his kicks, and he's just. The Rope Factory scene, just the way that the kind of like the dynamics and the way that the action was captured was just so kind of like, it was Jackie on a bigger scale. And you know, there's a lot of comedy in the fight scenes that are involved, and even in some of like just these little kind of like instances of like situation comedy, which kind of works really, really well. But especially when you see Jackie Chan kind of like trying to kind of balance like him trying to be a boss, but then also at the same time he's kind of put into this kind of like very kind of simple kind of, you know, a simple lady's kind of life, trying to kind of make things better, and you see him kind of just losing it at the same time. I mean, it's quite wacky, quite light-hearted, but at the same time it is, you know, there's plenty of like action to kind of enjoy. But just even in terms of like just the filmmaking on display, it kind of proved, even though the film itself, it wasn't a resounding box office success considering how high the budget was, but you know, over the years, it has actually shown that like it is actually a well-made film, especially in terms of like the filmmaking aspects and Jackie Chan's capability as a director, being able to handle big projects like this. And you know, even kind of like, you know, the critics had even kind of noted it as well, and they also kind of showed how his style of action, it looked absolutely. It was vibrant, the way that it was captured. It was done to a T. And you know, even I think he won awards at the Hong Kong Film Awards for like best action choreography, stunts design. Again, which pretty much his unit has won quite a few of those. But definitely, I would say if you haven't seen this one, I would say definitely check it out, because it hasn't had as much success in its initial run, but right now it is actually now been seen as one of those must-see Jackie Chan movies, just for like just the level of kind of detail that was gone into it. Definitely worth watching. Number 9 is Police Story 3 Super Cop, which is a 1992 film directed by Stanley Tong. It stars Jackie Chan with Michelle Yeoh, Maggie Cheung, Yun Hua, and Kenneth Sang. Chen Ka-kui is assigned to go undercover to bring down drug kingpin Chai Bat. He's joined by Commander Yang of the People Republics of China's security force, which takes him to beyond the borders of Hong Kong and China, throughout Asia, places like Kuala Lumpur and the Golden Triangle, Cambodia. And when his girlfriend May turns up, things begin to go haywire in his mission. Yep, this again, this could have easily have been directed by Jackie Chan, but he kind of like thought, I want to work with somebody else, and they decided to give this new upstart Stanley Tong a chance, who was a former stuntman himself. So he kind of took the mantle of director, which happened to be like probably the best like decision they made in order to make him a director, which is he became a very frequent collaborator with Jackie Chan with films like Rumble in the Bronx, First Strike, which was also known as Police Story 4, and he's done quite a few others. I think it was The Myth, which was later on, Kung Fu Yoga, and even a sequel to The Myth called The Legend, and which was not too long ago. And and if you, I know something, I think it was Vanguard was one of their films as well. But yeah, and again, that's not that's different. But in here, it was actually a lot more. I mean, I thought, Jackie Chan, and again, he did some amazing stunt work. He did some really cool kind of like had some really cool sequences. Notably, I thought the shootout at the Golden Triangle, where you see Lo Li kind of like play in a cameo the kind of like the Baron, or the leader of the actual militia that's running this kind of operation that's supplying to all these drug lords around the world. And you got a really cool shootout. There was some really good explosions and stunts, and even the ending when you see him kind of hanging off the helicopter, that was done really, really well. Like, that was actually a really cool stunt sequence. And even him kind of racing through traffic of like Kuala Lumpur whilst kind of like chasing the bad guys along with Michelle Yeoh just hanging off the roof of this of a van, and and even the train sequence where you see him kind of like fighting people like Ken Lo and another one of his stunt team members on like a moving train. That was actually done really cool. That was actually quite a fun scene to watch. But overall, I think Michelle Yeoh takes the cake. Her performance in this film just stole the show. I would always say this was more of Michelle Yeoh's show than it was Jackie Chan's, because she just kind of shined so well with her charisma, and her performance was just so commanding. Her martial arts ability in this was really, she handles choreography so well. And even when it comes to doing some of the stunts, it was just absolutely like just insane, especially the motorbike stunt on the actual train, onto the moving train. That was just like hair-raising. The fact that it's done in a wide shot, you can clearly see it's her. She didn't use no doubles for that, and even got to a point where both of them were kind of trying to outdo the other, which was who can do the most craziest stunts, and where Jackie Chan had to pull her back to say, listen, we carry on like this, someone is going to get hurt, or it could even be worse, like lose their life. Let's just keep it as it is now. No more competing. But it was such a wow, kind of like had a more of an international feel, this in comparison to the usual police stories. Like the first two police story films were pretty much primarily, they were all set all the way through in Hong Kong, about like pretty much him dealing with criminals in Hong Kong, whereas this one, he's dealing with a criminal in Hong Kong, but then he's actually taken all across Asia. Like, he's working with the People's Republic of China and their government, so he goes to China. So, and then you get to see him in Cambodia and the Golden Triangle. And then he's also at places like he's at the end where he's like the finale, which is filmed in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. So it's kind of like him kind of almost globe-trotting throughout Asia himself, and not the whole world, but this is like him going through different countries of Asia, where of course at that time Jackie had a huge market. He was absolutely successful. He was so big, and he was just he was everywhere. And this kind of had this almost like a James Bond type of feel to it, which I think was also kind of expanded upon when they made Police Story 4, aka First Strike, because that was kind of like filmed in parts of like Russia and Australia for the most part, and it had like a more of an international kind of feel. But this was just like this one, but then again, in terms of an action movie, it's absolutely incredible. I thought it's just an absolute banger of a film, even though Michelle Yeoh was the one who kind of like almost had pretty much easily stole the show when it comes to the fights and the action, even her stunts. But just her presence was just, it was amazing in this film. Number 8 is Drunken Master, 1978 film, directed by Yuen Woo-ping. It stars Jackie Chan, Yin Seo-tien, and Hwang Jung-lee. Disappointed by his son's reckless ways, Wang Ki-ying sends his son Wang Fei-hung to train with Beggar Soul, who's a legendary kung fu master who's infamous for crippling many of his students. After getting defeated and humiliated by deadly assassin Thunderleg, Wang Fei-hung decides to return to Beggar Soul and learn kung fu from him and train more seriously, and also being able to then kind of master the ancient secret art of Beggar Soul, which is drunken boxing. This again, I did cover this. This is within my top 10 of my Kung Fu movies as well. It's an absolute classic of a movie. I have talked about this movie in the top 50 Kung Fu movies video series, if you've seen that. And again, this was pretty much his follow-up with seasonal films. This was a seasonal films production, which was a part of his 2-picture contract. Now, after the success that happened, which was Snake and Eagle Shadow, they decided, let's just build more upon that whole kind of master and student kind of formula between Jackie Chan and Yin Seo-tien. So what they did was they'd actually kind of made a more comedic film than the original Snake, than the first collaboration, which was Snake and Eagle Shadow. Let's just say they said, let's go for something a lot more comedic, a bit more broad in terms of the comedy, and like have a heavy kind of comedic kind of approach to the whole master and student relationship, which worked really well, because this probably was the biggest hit of Hong Kong and Asia in 1978, because it was just such a huge success. It kind of had this kind of just a moment to prove that Jackie Chan was just not a one-hit wonder, where they can make both films. This was even more successful than A Snake and Eagle Shadow, which had been released earlier on in the same year. But this just kind of like blew everything out of the water, and pretty much even beyond the borders of Hong Kong. And it had actually kind of done really well in markets like South Korea, Japan, where kind of like Jackie Chan mania was kind of like pretty much on the rise at that point. Places like Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, you can name a lot of the countries in Asia. This film was a huge hit. You got amazing training sequences, which I think that's what kind of like capitalized on the success of films like his film Snake and the Shadow, because that had some amazing training sequences. And you kind of like, you've got these really inventive ways of them being able to learn kung fu. I'm sure pretty much a lot of us, especially being able to kind of like trying to do those kind of bending from wrists like this, we all must have done that when we were kids when we watched this movie. And this just probably was the first Jackie Chan movie I ever saw, which was Drunken Master on VHS, which was the old school dub on the Rank Video release. And because I just don't know why there was a second different English dub which was included on the the Hong Kong Legends DVD, and also the Blu-ray, which was released by Eureka. I mean, I was hoping that they would get that original classic old school dub, but for some reason it's just nobody seems to be kind of like clear on who has the rights. I'm just hoping somebody does eventually put a edition out of this film legitimately. I know was it Hong Kong Rescue had actually done a kind of like a fan restoration including that dub as an option, but we haven't had that dub yet on Blu-ray, which is a shame, really, because I think that's just the way to watch it. Just the voices and just the dubbing, it was fun to watch, and it just kind of matches the silly tone of the movie. And in terms of like when it comes to the fight sequences, they're done with great kind of like just finesse and ease, capturing Jackie Chan's kind of playful nature and just his kind of like his character, who's just kind of like he's a brat. He's an absolute spoilt brat, but then he also has like a good heart, where you see in some scenes. But sometimes, but a lot of the times, he does deserve when he gets punished. You think, yeah, he probably does deserve it. And I thought, especially the sequence with him like learning the eight drunk immortals, kind of like that was a great sequence. And I thought Huang Zhangli was absolutely incredible as Thunderleg. I mean, unlike Snake and Eagle Shadow, you actually get to see him kind of like utilize his kicking ability a lot more, as well as his other abilities as well, like using the shadow hands and just slapping him with the fingers, and that was actually pretty cool. And even the fact that he's his opening sequence was pretty cool. His scene, that the fact that you have him kind of like take on was it Sunny Yun or Charlie Yun, one of the Yun brothers, the one who was pretty much the one in Dreadnought, who was the main bad guy in that. Can't remember his name, but he was the lead man in Dance of the Drunken Mantis, one of Yun Luping's brothers. Really kind of like cool opening fight sequence. But the film, again, this is like an absolute must for Kung Fu fans. I think it's just absolutely like just stellar. It's just so much fun to watch. I mean, you just kind of like switch your brain off. You just watch this movie. I mean, even just to be able to appreciate the amazing choreography and the fights. I mean, there's so many of them, and they were done with a cheeky grin, which everyone's in on the joke. Everyone's just having fun making this movie. And definitely, I would say, it's not just one of Jackie Chan's, but one of the greatest Kung Fu movies and Kung Fu comedies ever made. Number 7 is Project A Part 2, a 1987 film directed by Jackie Chan. It stars Jackie Chan, Lam Wai, Maggie Chung, Rosamund Kwan, and Bill Tung. Dragon Ma of the Coast Guard is assigned to take over a corrupt police officer's district, but ends up making more enemies than friends. Deceased pirate Lo Sampo's surviving crew members land in Hong Kong, vowing to get revenge on Dragon Ma. Again, another one of those rare instances where the sequel was actually much kind of like a top tier sequel. It's like a very rare top tier sequel that you see to the original. I mean, the original was great, but even the sequel, I thought was just, this was absolutely amazing. Now, we spoke about Jackie Chan's ability as a filmmaker in the 10th movie, which was Miracles. But then if you look at, like, for example, prior to Miracles, this was 1987, 2 years before. This is this and Police Story 2 are the only two films that he directed before he made that film. But in this one, you also had flashes of like Jackie Chan as a amazing storyteller and filmmaker, because in this film it's just full of so much detail in terms of the costumes, the sets, and even the cinematography itself. I mean, we see some amazing crane shots I mean, I think it was it that Channel 4 show, Vids Does Jackie Chan, when they aired this movie late night on Channel 4, they had this kind of like a 5-minute kind of intro to the movie where the two guys, they talk about like how much they love the movie and how much they love Jackie Chan, and giving a bit of historical context. But they said that the film was shot at the Shaw Brothers studio. I don't know how true that was, but but then some people say it was shot in the Golden Harvest studio, but don't know where it was. But the set was used, looked amazing. And, I thought in terms of the performances, I mean, Jackie Chan's character is a lot more earnest in this. Is not as much slapsticky kind of like action in comparison to the first one. He's not as, the comedy is there with some of the sequences, especially the chase between him and Lam Wai are cuffed and they're being chased by Lao Sampa's pirates. I mean, that was an absolutely amazing kind of on-foot chase, and it was just the kind of like the situational comedy that's present at that time was really well made and just well captured. And I would say I'm sure that Pirates of the Caribbean did actually copy that scene as well. I'm sure they did, yeah. The director must have been watching this movie. And I thought the other scene that I thought was done really well, which was the kind of like when everyone's hiding in Maggie Cheung's apartment, when everyone turns up, but then you've got like so many people, even Bill Tung, who's absolutely amazingly funny in this movie in some scenes. He's playing like one of the chief, I think it's the chief of police, and he's really funny in this film. And it's got some great fight sequences as well. Great kind of like the stunts in this are just absolutely hair-raising. I mean, he does borrow from like some other films, like kind of like very much like Charlie Chaplin-esque kind of feel to it. And I even would say Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in America, where like kind of using those kind of like cages where they got all those feathers in with their pigeons and whatnot, and like just the use of like him kind of when he's fighting the bad guys at the end, that was done pretty well. And it's just the amount of kind of like pain that's involved in some of the stunt work. It just looks absolutely incredible. Again, this was like top tier, like Jackie Chan pretty much at the height. He'd made this film as kind of like a filler, because originally Jackie Chan was meant to be appearing in Eastern Condors with Sammo Hung and Yuen Biao, but since his previous film, which was Armor of God, had almost kind of like cost Jackie his life, Raymond Chow himself, the boss of Golden Harvest, said to him that, listen, for the time being, because of what happened in Yugoslavia, I would rather not let you film in another country, which is why Jackie was not in Eastern Condors. He had actually done this movie instead, and he had actually waited for his brothers Sammo and Yuen Biao to arrive back, and then they made Dragons Forever after this. And so he had actually done this movie in that meantime whilst they were out there filming in the Philippines. He was in Hong Kong actually making this film, and he kind of like, I thought it would have been nice if Sammo Hung and Yuen Biao were also back in this film, because considering they were part of the main cast in the original ones, but he still managed to make a film that was definitely worth watching. And just the way that it's made, it's very eclectic in terms of like, it's quite like a bit more mature of a movie than the first Project A. It's actually a lot more focused on the narrative as well as this performance as like it's kind of like as an honest cop. But then the comedy is there. It's a lot of great comedy, and the action again. He just kind of, him and his stunt team did an amazing job. And I would say one of like, this is without doubt like, this is top tier kind of like Jackie Chan stuff. I mean, without a doubt. Number 6 is Wheels on Wheels, a 1984 film directed by Sammo Hung, starring Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, Yuen Biao, and Lola Fauna. David and Thomas run a fast food truck in Barcelona. they meet a young woman named Sylvia, who's a pickpocket posing as a hooker. When a powerful count sends men looking for her, David and Thomas join forces with their bumbling private investigative friend Moby to save the day. Yeah, this again was like the second collaboration of what people call the Three Dragons, which was Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuen Biao, because the first one was the original Project A. I mean, I don't know if you would count Winners and Sinners, because Yuen Biao only had a cameo and Jackie's character was very kind of like, it was very small in those films. But after Project A, this was the film that Jackie Chan had made, which was again to kind of like broaden his kind of fan base. And they, instead of setting it in Hong Kong, they decided to opt for Barcelona, being able to use the location. So of course, director Sammo Hung was brought on board to kind of like, you know, thought he wanted to actually direct a film with two of his brothers in it as well. But then again, because both three of them were pretty much the main cast, you get to see them bounce off one another. The comedy in this film is just an absolutely fast and loose. I mean, especially the OG export dub with the Spartan X soundtrack music used instead. That music is just, I just love the soundtrack to that movie. It has a very strong 80s kind of like kind of techie kind of synth sound kind of feel to it. It's really fun. And the dubbing is just absolutely hilarious, especially when you got cameos from people like John Shum and Richard Ng. I mean, the voices for them just absolutely, and even I thought Sammo Hung's voice in this film was just absolutely just hilarious. And you know, it's just great action. It's just filled with like lots of cool sequence. I mean, the opening sequence where you see like the both Jackie and Yuen Biao just waking up, kind of like stretching out, doing all these exercises, kind of sparring in the morning, training. It just kind of gets to, oh, you know, we're in for something really special. You know, this is going to be fun. And you're thinking, wow, you know what, just be able to wake up and just do that before work. And like, you know, that's just so fun. And, you know, the comedy, again, very slapstick, very kind of loose, very lighthearted. And you even got Blackie Cole as a kind of like in a cameo as like a leader of like a kind of like a biker gang who's kind of just causing a nuisance. That was a fun sequence. But then you've got amazing kind of like a great car chase done through the streets in Barcelona. And of course the fight scenes in this film, you know, they're done really, really well, especially when Jackie Chan and Yuen Biao and even Sammo Hung to an extent get to take on kickboxing champion Benny the Jet Urquidez, who's playing one of the bad guys' main henchmen, and Keith Vitale, who's like a former karate champion from the States. And both of these guys, you know, their ability is just kind of like, it's just exemplary. I mean, their kicks and their movements just look so swift and amazing. And of course, when we're looking at the creme de la creme of what people may consider to be the greatest filmed fight scene on a movie of all time, you know, you got Jackie Chan versus Benny the Jet Urquidez, which this fight itself was just, you know, it's just timeless. And you know, when you kind of like learn about how this fight was filmed, you know, from like, you know, interviews of Benny the Jet Urquidez, especially if you watch the interviews on the Eureka Blu-ray, or if you've got the Hong Kong Legends DVD, you get to see how Benny the Jet was actually talking about his experience on working with Jackie and his kind of input on those films, and how, you know, and Keith Vitale also explaining how he and Jackie would actually kind of like plan his fights and kind of work out the choreography, and you kind of like get great insight on that, and you just kind of see the attention to detail that's put in to this to his sequences. It's amazing to watch. And you know, that fight scene itself is just, some of the shots were really good, and again, especially the music in the English dub and the export dub was just, you know, it's just perfectly timed, and it just kind of, you know, it just gets really pumped up. This is just one of those like fast-paced, loose, exciting, fun movies, and I would definitely, you know, most Jackie Chan films fans have actually recommended this to many. I mean, it might even be higher on other people's lists, but yeah, definitely this is, you know, within my top 10 and almost in my top 5, but definitely, you know, without saying it goes. It's just one of those great movies, and it's just, you know, great fact that, you know, you get it captured in the actual setting of like Barcelona, and like getting to be able to actually use the landscapes. You got the amazing kind of like the architecture involved, and just the kind of the cinematography and the way that it's kind of shot. It just kind of captures the whole vibrancy of Barcelona in the 80s. And even, yeah, the aesthetics, it's just, they are great. Yeah, well, that was my my 4th video in this series. We've only got one more video to go, and I'm kind of like just looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get this series done and do more things now, especially with my new setting. And yeah, again, let me know what do you think of my list so far, and you know, I'd love to know more about your favorite Jackie Chan films. I mean, let me know in the comment, and also, you know, be kind and just smash that like button a bit more, and, you know, share my videos and do what you can to just kind of like spread the word. And I'll see you definitely on the next one.